أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. O Lord, show us the good as good and bless us to stay with it, and show us falsehood as falsehood and help us to stay away from it with your mercy, O merciful one. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Ameen. So we're continuing on today with the 26th flash, Treatise for the Elderly, the 16th Hope.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So one time in my old age, I was released from Eskişehir prison after serving a year's sentence. They exiled me to Kastamonu, which is some area in northern part of Turkey, as the footnote says. So where this author who's sharing his reflections stayed, where I stayed for 2 or 3 months as a guest in the police station. It may be understood how much torment someone like me suffered in a place like that, who was a recluse, wearied by seeing even his loyal friends, and could not endure the changes in dress. While suffering this despair, divine grace suddenly came to the assistance of my old age. The inspector and police in the police station became like firm friends. They not once warned me about not wearing a peaked cap, and like my servants, used to take me for trips around the town. Then I took up residence in Kastamonu's Risale-i Nur Madrasa, opposite the police station, and started to write further parts of the Risale-i Nur. Heroic Risale-i Nur students like Faizi, Emin, Ilmi, Sadek, Nafis, and Salahuddin attended the madrasa in order to duplicate the treatises and disseminate them. We held scholarly debates even more brilliant than those I had held in my youth with my old students. Then our hidden enemies aroused the suspicions of some officials and some egotistical hojas and sheikhs concerning us. They caused us and Risale-i Nur students from 5 or 6 provinces to be gathered together in the school of Joseph of Denizli prison. The details of the 16th Hope are described clearly in the brief letters I sent secretly to my brothers while in Denizli prison, in those sent from Kastamonu, and in the collection containing the court defense speeches. So referring the details to those letters and to my defense speech, I shall allude to it only very briefly here. I hid the confidential and important collections, and particularly those about the Sufyan and the Risale-i Nur's wonder working, under the coal and firewood, so that they might be published after my death or after the authorities had come to their senses and listened to the truth. Then, when feeling easy at this, some detectives and the assistant public prosecutor suddenly raided my house. They pulled out those secret and important treatises from under the wood, then arrested me and sent me to Sparta prison, although I was in bad health. While greatly upset and sad at the harm that had come to the Risale-i Nur, divine grace came to our aid. The authorities carefully and curiously began to read those important treatises which had been hidden, of which they were in much need. And the government offices became like Risale-i Nur study centers. Although they began to read with the idea of criticizing, they appreciated them. In Denizli even, although we were unaware of it, numerous people read the printed edition of Ayatul Kubra, the Supreme Sign, officially and unofficially, and strengthened their belief. This reduced to nothing the calamity of prison we were suffering. Later, they took us to Denizli prison and put me into solitary confinement in a stinking cold, damp ward. I was most unhappy at my old age and illness and the difficulties visited on my friends because of me. I was feeling most distressed at the confiscations of the Risale-i Nur and the cessation in its activities when divine grace suddenly came to my aid. It transformed that huge prison into a Risale-i Nur madrasa, proving it was a school of Joseph. The Risale-i Nur started to spread through the diamond pens of the heroes of the Madrasatul Zahra. The great hero of the Risale-i Nur, even in those severe conditions, wrote out more than 20 copies of the Fruits of Belief and the Defense Speeches collection in the space of 3 or 4 months. The conquest began both within the prison and outside. It transformed our losses in that calamity into significant gains and our distress into joy. It once again showed the meaning of the verse, but it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you. Quran chapter 2 verse 216. But it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you. Then we were subject to severe criticisms because of the incorrect and superficial statements of the first experts committee and the education minister's savage attacks. A statement was published against us, then just when, according to some reports, they were even trying to secure the execution of some of us, divine grace came to our assistance. Chiefly while expecting a severely critical report from the experts committee in Ankara, they sent a commendatory one. And although they found less than 10 errors in 5 chests of copies of the Risale-i Nur, we proved in court that the points they had shown to be errors were completely correct and that they themselves had been in error in the matters they said were wrong. We showed between 5 and 10 errors and mistakes in the 5-page report. And while awaiting several reprisals in the face of the Fruits of Belief and Defense's collection, which we had sent to 7 government offices, and the entire Risale-i Nur, which had been sent to the Ministry of Justice, and especially in return for the effective stinging slaps dealt by the confidential treatises, they responded extremely leniently. And like the even consoling letter sent to us by the Prime Minister, they were more conciliatory and did not attack us. This proved decisively that as a miracle of divine grace, the truths of the Risale-i Nur had defeated them, making them study its treatises as though it were a guide. It made those broad circles into a sort of study circle and saved the belief of numerous hesitating and bewildered people, causing us spiritual joy and profit far exceeding our distress. Then our hidden enemies poisoned me. And the late Hafiz Ali, the martyr hero of the Risale-i Nur, went to hospital instead of me, traveled to the intermediate realm in my place, and made us weep despairingly. Before this calamity, on many occasions, I had insisted on the mountain at Kastamonu, my brothers, don't give meat to the horse and grass to the lion. That is to say, don't give all the treatises to everyone, lest they use them to attack us. Although Hafiz Ali, may God have mercy on him, was around 7 days away on foot, as though he heard with his spiritual telephone that same time he was writing to me, yes, Ustad, it is a wonder of the Risale-i Nur that horses should not be given meat, nor lions grass. Rather, since horses should be given hay and lions meat, he gave that lion like Hoja the treatise on sincerity. I received his letter 7 days later. We worked it out, and at the same time I was shouting it out on the mountain, he was writing the strange words in his letter. Thus, just at the time that hero of the Risale-i Nur died, and we were being pressurized by the secret dissemblers who were trying to have us punished through their intrigues against us, and we were anxious that I would be sent to the hospital on official orders because I was ill from poison. Divine grace came to our assistance. Thanks to the sincere prayers of my blessed brothers, the dangers to my life from the poisoned passed, and according to powerful signs, our martyr was occupied in his grave with the risale-i Nur, and replied with the risale-i Nur to the questioning angels. And the Denizli hero Hassan Faizi, may God have mercy on him, who would work according to Hafiz Ali's system, and his friends were secretly serving the risale-i Nur effectively. And because the other prisoners were being reformed by the risale-i Nur, even our enemies supported our being released from prison. And like the companions of the cave, the risale-i Nur students turned that place of ordeal into an ascetic's cave of olden times. All this, together with their endeavors in writing out and disseminating the risale-i Nur with easy hearts, proved that divine grace had come to our aid. It also occurred to my heart that since a great interpreter of the law, like Imam Azam, suffered imprisonment, and a supreme mujahid like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was severely tortured in prison for the sake of a single matter of the Quran, and endured it in perfect patience, yet not remain silent about the matter in question. It also occurred to my heart that since a great interpreter of the law like Imam Azam suffered imprisonment, and a supreme mujahid like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was severely tortured in prison for the sake of a single matter of the Quran, and endured it in perfect patience, yet not remain silent about the matter in question. And numerous religious leaders and scholars were completely patient and unshaken, offering thanks despite suffering torments far greater than yours. For sure you are obliged to offer endless thanks for the very difficulties you suffer, although the reward you receive is great for those many truths of the Quran. Yes, I shall describe briefly a manifestation of divine grace in the midst of man's wrongful tyranny. All right, you want to continue reading? Thank you.
When I was 20 years old, I used to say repeatedly, towards the end of my life, I shall withdraw from the life of society into a cave or onto a mountain, like the people of olden times who abandoned the world and withdrew into caves. Then, when in the Great War I was being held as a prisoner in the Northeast, I took this decision. After this, I shall spend my life in caves. I shall slip away from political and social life. Enough now of mixing in them. At that point, both dominical grace and the justice of divine determining were manifested. It transformed the caves I had imagined into prisons, places of seclusion, loneliness in places of ordeal, and solitary confinement in a way far better than my decision and wish, compassionately for my old age. It bestowed on me schools of Joseph and places of solitary confinement where my time would not be wasted, that were far superior to the mountain caves of ascetics and recluses.
Those who live alone lives.
Oh, like hermits? That's cool. It gave both the benefits pertaining to the hereafter of the cave and strenuous service of the truths of belief in the Quran. It gave both the benefits pertaining to the hereafter of the cave and strenuous service of the truths of belief in the Quran. I had even determined to show myself guilty of some crime and remain in prison after my friends had been released. solitaries like Husrev and Faizi would have remained with me, and on some pretext, I would have remained in the solitary confinement ward so as not to meet with people and waste my time on unnecessary conversation and egotistical artificiality. But then, divine determining and our fate sent us to another place of ordeal. Out of compassion for my old age, and in order to make us work harder in the service of belief, duties were given to us outside our will and power in this third school of Joseph, in accordance with the verse, but it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you. But it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you. And the saying, good lies in what God chooses. Good lies in what God chooses. Yes, there are three instances of wisdom and important benefits in respect of the service of the risale-i in divine grace, turning out of compassion for my old age, the caves of my youth, when I had no powerful hidden enemies, into the solitary confinement of prison.
Okay, first instance of wisdom and benefit. It is only in the school of Joseph that the risale-i students can gather together without harm. Outside the school is expensive and causes suspicion if they meet together. Some who came to visit me would spend 40 or 50 liras, then see me for only 20 minutes or not at all, and would have to return. I would have willingly chosen the hardship of prison to be closer to some of my brothers. This means that for us, prison is a bounty and instance of mercy. Second instance of wisdom and benefit. The service to belief at this time through the Risale-i Nur has to be through advertising it everywhere and attracting the attention of those in need. Attention is drawn to the Risale-i Nur by our imprisonment. It is like an advertisement. The most stubborn or most needy find it and save their belief. Their obduracy is broken and they are saved from danger, and the Risale-i Nur study circle is widened. The third instance of wisdom and benefit. The Risale-i Nur students who are sent to prison learn from one another's conduct, qualities, sincerity, and self-sacrifice, and they no longer seek worldly benefits in their service. Yes, since in the school of Joseph, they have seen with their own eyes the 10 and perhaps 100 benefits gained for every hardship and difficulty, and the good results and the extensive and sincere service to believe. They are successful in attaining pure sincerity and no longer lower themselves by seeking minor personal benefits. A subtle but sad, yet at the same time agreeable point concerning these places of ordeal that concerns myself only is this. I observed the same situation here that I saw in the old madrasas in my native region in my youth. I observed the same situation here that I saw in the old madrasas in my native region in my youth. For traditionally in the eastern provinces, some of the madrasa students' needs were met from outside, and in some madrasas their food was cooked in the madrasa. There were other ways they resembled this place of ordeal. As I watch the prison here, I feel a pleasurable regret and longing and travel in my imagination to those enjoyable times of youth and forget the difficulties of old age. And that is the end of this hope. And very happy to take it from here. Maybe we can discuss those verses, inshallah.
Oh, great. Oh, I have this bittersweet feeling of this treatise to end. It was really exciting to hear the author's reflections. and at the same time, it's also time to move on to something new. But thank you for listening in, really, for this nice and patient reading. And I see some people have picked up. So yeah, so we were reading the 16th Hope, those of you who joined us in 16th Hope of the 26th Flash, Treatise for the Elderly. Hamim just posted the link, which is on page 331. And this is the last hope of this treatise, and the author is taking us in on his journey of experiencing life, I would say, because he really made it very adventurous. It's like, hey, the adventure of Nursi in the prison or something, but you know, how it's helping us also make some sense out of our existence in terms of what matters, and you know, how can I make the best out of my experiences, or how should I handle my experiences. So Miriam Ostermer is asking, did we read the first third instance of wisdom and benefit, or just the 16th hope? We just read the 16th hope, so we just finished up the 16th hope. And yep, so let's look into that step by step, paragraph by paragraph. So really the first paragraph, he's really mentioning you know, what's going on, where he's you know, at a certain age, and the way he's being treated, like, you know, we would say, oh, an elderly person, he's treated in a, what do you say, interesting, like something that you wouldn't expect to be treated as in this age. But you know, it seems that age doesn't matter. But then he's also, he's not in this journey alone. He has like a whole crew with him, like a bunch of friends. And so the prison really became a place of gathering, you know, like us, we're coming together right now to discuss some existential matters. So same thing, divine plan was brought up or was set up in such a way that your location doesn't really matter, your personal situation, conditions doesn't really matter. It's really how you utilize these experiences to really connect to your reality and to connect to the source of your existence. And so you know, it's interesting how he's also mentioning about the kind of work he was doing and the kind of hindrance that came about. So he's really trying to share in his personal reflections on how he understands his existence and how it's helping him realize the reality of this universe. And within this journey, he's faced with some situations, and those situations at first glance may seem not to be working at his advantage, where, you know, he's really at the service of the Quran, at the service of you know, spreading the message of the speech of the creator of the universe. And so whoever took on those work, the publications, whatever has been written, since they were really studying it carefully, and you know, human beings are curious by nature. So I think it worked out to everyone's advantage. Whatever the pieces of text had in them, it really resonates with the human being. So if you're really studying closely without any bias, then I think everybody can benefit from it. Even like we're benefiting from these texts right now and trying to listen into what the author is saying and sort of applying it to our conditions. And yep, so I'll just take it a pause here for now and see if anyone wants to add anything. You want to add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, as you were saying, basically, how the author is sharing his personal take on this, and everybody has their own experience. They go through their life.
Mm.
I'm looking at my life also, and I can relate to the two verses. Or one is the verse, I think. The other is a statement. But it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you. So he keeps bringing that up. So this notion of, as you said, divine plan, or you can think of divine determining, or whatever is being given to you. And then each situation, it may seem like, oh man, I don't want this thing. Oh, I really wanted this profession, but I didn't get this particular profession. Or I wanted this thing, but I didn't get it. I wanted to get married to this person, but didn't happen. So all those things, there are things in life that everybody has that they go through. I didn't get to this school, but so these are all the life experiences that we can bring on and see how this verse kind of shows that, hey, if I followed the order, I did everything, and still, the result didn't turn out the way I was expecting, and it may seem like this is terrible, this is not what I deserve. So the point is about getting into that situation of despair, of why it didn't happen that way, rather than maybe seeing that, hey, maybe that thing that you are assuming or perceiving as maybe this may be something really beneficial for you or good for you may not be, that maybe something else is better for you. It's like the doctor example, with the medicine, the patient may ask, hey, give me this medicine. And the doctor says, no, I'll give you this other medicine. You say, hey, but I want the other medicine. No, this one is the one that will kind of will benefit you. Or no medicine at this time is better for you rather than the medicine you're asking for. So the whole, his experiences, I think, is tying into this notion of seeing what you're given, what is being your situation, what you're put into, and recognizing that it is somebody is presenting that to you, and he has in his experience seen the advantage of it. Like in those situations, he's seen that, things have turned out really positively, something that is not acceptable, or it's like something in a prison life may seem, oh my God, this is terrible, what am I going to do? But he made the most in terms of maybe many people benefited in terms of understanding what their existence means and what life is about, and who is taking care of this whole universe and yourself. So that ease and comfort maybe can be obtained was probably in his lifetime. So that's at least how I took it.
Well, thank you for sharing this. And it seems that like you were saying, I didn't get what I deserve, but at the end of the day, if one reflect on it, we really get what we deserve as far as pertaining to the purpose of my existence is concerned. Because again, taking the analogy of this universe being a school where we're being educated, trained, and the teacher knows exactly the areas that you need a little more work on. So there's no one size fit all exams, right? You may have passed some things, but based on how you tackle the exam, then you have some other tailored exams, so you can master the skill and the concepts. And so with that understanding, where I'm being educated, I need a certain understanding in certain areas of my life, existence. So existence-wise, I would say the creation of anything is good, and it's there's a wisdom in it because it teaches me where I need to ameliorate myself. And also connecting this to the author when he was sharing about when he was younger, he had this hope, and hope do becomes like prayers. He had this hope of just like settling down in mountains and cave, and I personally can resonate with it. I mean, I was also lately, it does occur to me, like once in a while, these kind of thoughts, what is this civilization offering? What is really at the end of the day, is it even worth it? I mean, the way the system is set up. I think after a while, once you really start experiencing things, especially life after college, when you enter the professional life, then things start, you really start to see the reality of things. And then you even laugh. I'm laughing at it because it makes you realize, oh my God, what was I running after? And so, and then you just want to, at one point, connect with the just creation, even like you see the dirty side of human beings as well, even creation in general. So you just want to like be in a peaceful state of mind. And so I can really resonate with the author where he just wants to settle down in the mountains, and that's ideal. It's great. Or somewhere like in a forest. And that's why it was exciting. It was exciting to hear his reflection. So it made me realize I'm not that crazy either, having these kind of thoughts once in a while. But so like he had these kind of thoughts, and it does become like a prayer. So now he's able to connect to what he had to his current situation now. So really, it doesn't matter what kind of box you're in at the end of the day, what kind of really institution you are in at the end of the day, because you are the student, you're learning, and you need to get educated. And everything that's provided there is the result of a conscious will. Things are not just haphazardly happening, although when we are in the moment experiencing events, then we may seem, oh my God, it's chaotic, how is this happening? And how do I get out of this situation? But the whole point here is to face your reality, and then welcome the situation, and then, ask it, what is it that you want to teach me, and how can I just utilize everything to fulfill the purpose of our existence. Thank you for sharing that part. So that was the excitements on my end. And let's see if there's anyone else who wants to share something or make a comment or has a question. Ali Murmur raised his hand. Go ahead, please.
It's a beautiful introduction to the subject. I found that after reading the last section of this 26th flash, I found that this treatise, this piece of the book, like some of other pieces of the book, is the practical example of the effect of belief in one's real life conditions. We always think that, or I always think that we believe in God, okay, the God is the creator, that's correct, must be so, and this universe belongs to him. He is really maintaining it, taking care of it, and everything glorifies him. All right, so I should glorify him as well. Okay, so what shall I do now? I should glorify means God is great. Yeah, why not? And everything exalts his sublime being. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I say also, Subhanallah, glory be to God. But this is all theoretical. Yeah, but when I come to my real life conditions, as this book, this section of the book really demonstrated through some pieces, experiences that the author had in his life, and the relationship, connection between the real life experience and that theoretical belief. For example, God is the creator of everything, okay? Then how about when I encounter with some ordeals in my life, problems that I don't like, I don't want to be subject to this treatment, for example, as the text we read today. Oh, is he the creator of this event? So is he really torturing me by creating this? We say God is great and he really offers all beautiful things for us, provides us all what we need for to sustain our life. Okay, how about this torture, imprisonment, and deprivations of life, my freedom? Or are they also mercy? So when we challenge some things that we don't like, we encounter with some kind of creation that we don't like, how do we see that God is great, God is sublime, God is to be glorified, and he is being merciful? Where is it? I am being tortured here, and with no reason, justifiable reason, just because I believe in God and practice his rituals of his religion, then I am tortured. I am almost tortured because of my belief in God. Where is his mercy? So I think belief is good only when it is applied to our life conditions. Or belief is there, belief is necessary in order to be applied to my real life conditions, so that I will make sense of my existence only through the lens of belief. As all of us remember that throughout the text that we read, not only today, we have been reading in this section, which is called 26th section, Flash, Treatise for the Elderly. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. God suffices me, and he is the best disposer of affairs. This belief, is he? How about my difficult life, torturous life conditions, pains that I experience in life? Is he the best disposer of life? That is a great and difficult question. The author is educating us, training us through his own life experience, and says, look, I was subject to these kind of treatments, to these kind of events, but when I looked at this event and made an analysis of the event through the verse, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil, God suffices us. He is the best disposer. We can trust him. He is doing what he is doing in the best way and in my favor. Although I may dislike it at first step. He demonstrated all this, and it showed to me that really he benefited all the texts we read throughout this months long reading, studying. But the author experienced the benefit of belief in terms of his life conditions and also harsh life conditions. I think we have to take lesson from it. Of course, today we were introduced another verse. I think this was also mentioned by you, very high, and your friend there, that the verse says, the Arabic text of the verse is, let me, so here it is. So, but it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. This verse needs to be studied carefully, like the previous verse that he has studied throughout the text, actually. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. God suffices me, he is the best disposer of affairs. He is the best wakil, takes care of you, your affairs. We have to study this verse as well, which says it is possible that you dislike. You studied it, but I wanted to review it and also go a bit further at, it is possible that you dislike a thing. Now, we label anything we dislike as evil. I think we have to stop here before putting a label on it as evil things, bad things. No, the thing is not bad, maybe not bad, be careful, but it is your reality that you dislike it, which means you have a sense which doesn't like it. It means you are given, endowed with the capacity to dislike it. It means your creator wants you to dislike this event. That is very right reason for me to dislike it. But I shouldn't be blamed because I disliked something which is created by the creator, which I label as to be the merciful one. Oh, no, I am encouraged not to like it. It is interesting, by my creator, although what I don't like is created by my creator again. But it says, use your belief in me. I am all-powerful one. Don't you see the evidence in the universe? I know what is going on. Don't you see in the evidence of the universe what I created to you, for you, in front of your eyes that you are experiencing? I am wise. Don't you see? I am wise. So use this belief in your real life experience. Now you dislike something, which is right for you to dislike it. But don't label what you dislike as evil, as bad. Don't label it with a bad title. This is a thing. As the Quranic language say, shay'an, a thing, not وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَرًّا. You don't like, but it is possible that you dislike an evil. No, it doesn't say this. A shay, which is created by the creator as well. A thing, which is created by the creator as well. If you really put it under the lens of your belief, you will see that it is good for you. But use the criteria, use the tool, if you like, use the binocular, or use the microscope. Sorry, say it.
Telescope.
telescope, telescope or microscope of belief. Under the microscope of belief, you will see that it is good for you, because although you dislike it, but it is good for you. And he gives various examples. The structure of the verse attracted my attention. Of course, primarily, I'm wrapping up. I know I spoke a lot. This is the real life experience of one's belief. Belief is not only a theoretical, intellectual conclusion. Not only, yes, it must be an intellectual conclusion, it must be a theoretical thing, but this result of this theoretical conclusion is to be applied in my real life conditions. That is what we read in this whole treatise. And inshallah, we will read another one, which is again in the just will follow this one, treatise for the sick. Also, it is also a practical experience of belief in one's real life conditions that we don't like, we are not happy with. I think these two treatises, the one which studied today finished, and inshallah next week we will study, is the best example of what we concluded after studying the volume 1 and volume 2 of the author's writings. Volume 1, the words, treats the belief in a theoretical base only and establishes it that this conclusion of belief in God and God's attributes and qualities is really true, have a confirmed mind and heart feeling about it. Now, we are reading the third volume of the writings. He's following it carefully. Now we have to see the practice of this belief, how effective, how relaxing, how beautiful, and how promising source of hope for me, and makes my life pleasant the belief is. Inshallah, we will continue. It is exciting for me to, and I wanted to share it with you.
Thank you for sharing your excitement. It excites us all here, because only through practical side of one's existence can belief be activated, or really becomes like one's life or something. And even this verse is it's a powerful, it's a formula, at least, because it's telling me that yes, I may face situations that are not of my liking, but that is to be used to acknowledge an absolute source of mercy, because if I'm really in tune or acquainted with my human nature, where I know that I don't like certain situation, I'm made to like this, I'm made not to like it, and it's not on my own that all of this is happening, and it's not the atom or the particle that's making me feel this way, but it's really a deliberate setup. A conscious will is behind this whole setup, teaching me, educating me about what really matters for me at the end of the day. Really, it's really concluding and internalizing this conclusion that I acknowledge, and then and then so just recognizing conscious will behind the setup of everything, then that's helps me fulfill the purpose of my existence. And that's what the verse is saying. It's a thing which is good for you. And yep, thank you for sharing your comments on that. Are there any other comments here from anyone? Hatice Beza, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for all the comments so far, very helpful. I was thinking about how, you know, as the author has been kind of taking us through this journey, and constantly he's emphasizing on a particular hardship, and then this sort of divine grace comes in and kind of assists him, or allows him to find that sort of peace and security in that situation. Because when I mean, I can easily say there doesn't seem to really be a change in his physical circumstances in these different occasions that he brings up. And you know, when I think about when I look at the things that happened to him, like taking away my freedom from me, and is probably one of the worst things that can probably happen to a human being. And the death of, you know, someone that I may love, especially if it's related to saving me in some way, for example. Like, it may seem a little dramatic, but like, these are not necessarily easy experiences that the author is mentioning, although like within the scope of one paragraph, there's like 180-degree change in the way he's expressing his feelings towards the event. And so I was thinking about how, you know, along with the verse that he highlights, but it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you, with the idea that we had discussed in a previous class as well, you know, how pain can become bearable for me when I know it is meaningful. And what may seem like painful for me, so long as I come to the understanding that, as Faria was emphasizing earlier, that I am undergoing this sort of conscious experience, like my experiences are not haphazardly just coming into existence. I am being taught. I'm following a very deliberate syllabus. That everything, even in my nature to not prefer it or to dislike it, is there serving a greater purpose. And it's not just that the greater purpose is something that's bigger than the little event itself, but it is inherently tied to what my most essential need as a human being is, which would, you know, I would say has to do with finding meaning and purpose in my life and attaining being aware of the fact that I am a recipient of mercy, that, you know, that I'm not just going to die and disappear and wither away and, you know, go into nothingness. So I think it's really interesting just to see, like, and it's so, like, it's interesting on multiple levels. On one hand, it's the fact that it's just these short paragraphs where the author has this complete turn in just the scope of the paragraph multiple times, and also the fact that at the end it all ends in gratitude, where, you know, despite all of these harsh realities, when I say harsh realities, I mean unpreferred states of being, then he comes to this sense of I guess, as Brother Ali was saying earlier, the practical application of belief, where then everything is suddenly pleasant for me. Everything is promising. Everything is beautiful. And I think one last idea connected to this, in my mind at least, was again this idea of dominical grace along with the justice of divine determining, constantly going hand in hand here in the way the author is viewing events, and then coming to this conclusion that good lies in what God chooses. So I think, again, tying it back to what Faria was emphasizing before about everything coming into existence as a result of a conscious will, and this being stemming from a sort of mercy for my existence, for my life, so that when I find myself in unpleasant situations, despite that initial dislike for the situation I might find myself in, being able to come to a state of being where I say that because this is being brought into existence as a result of a conscious will, it is beautiful to me, since it is training me. And so this, despite the the prison-like states I might find myself in, they become a sort of, as the author says, a school of Joseph for me. So I hope that made some sense. Again, not necessarily adding anything new, but just my feelings and initial thoughts.
Hatice Beza, I thank you for expressing yourself out and sharing your comment. At least for me, it helps digest the subject matter much better. And you're right. These practical experiences that we all go through, it's not easy, when we're in the moment experiencing it. And that's the whole training about where, it's easy to just be, I won't say like not be in a state of heedlessness, not really, like even though I know that, yeah, I have a generous creator who's taking care of me, but why aren't you giving me this? Or, I see, nobody's having any kind of problem, but like, why am I made to experience this thing for like a long time? Just like some things, the typical life experiences that the human beings go through. And it's just really, what am I, then I asked the question, what am I doing with the theory that I'm learning? All right.
Yeah,
what good is it? Seriously, like as Brother Ali mentioned about the first volume, the words of this author, it's really setting up the stage for me in terms of me utilizing my human intellect, observation, concluding things. I'm learning, right? I'm like, yeah, this is exactly how I see the universe working. But then when it comes to my practical life, I need to apply that theory into practical form. Otherwise, it just stays aloof there. It's just like having a degree, but what's the degree good for if it's not being utilized? So there's, like you were saying, there's definitely a bigger purpose to things, and that's where I think this verse is really like, the more I'm looking at it, the more it's unpacking some more layers of meaning in terms of what the source of my existence wants me to really take away from my existence here. It is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you. So if I know that I have a generous host, and I think one of the younger ones mentioned this earlier, that your creator wants what's best for you. Yeah, and so if I know that theoretically, then I shouldn't. Then I shouldn't have any problem. I should feel comfortable. Just like enjoy the ride. fasten your seatbelt and, you know, enjoy the ride, ladies and gentlemen, kind of attitude. You know, I know that I have, you know, Iwan taking care of me. So, yeah, that was exciting, at least. Ali Murmur, go ahead, please.
The second point attracted my attention was on the page 333 and the second paragraph. My brothers, don't give meat to the horse and grass to the lion. You got it. Yeah, you were there. Yeah, and continues. That is to say, don't give all the treaties to everyone, lest they use them to attack. It's a very practical advice, actually. Very practical advice. What does it mean? Of course, horse don't eat meat. Horse is ready to eat grass. But if you give meat to horse, what does it do? Destroys it. It doesn't benefit. And likewise, the opposite is true for the lion. Don't give grass to lion. Lion eats meat, not grass. So he says this is an how do you say, a famous saying, the idiom in Turkish, maybe in other languages as well. Maybe it is used in English as well. I have no idea. So he says, don't give every treaty to anyone. They may use them to attack. What does it mean? Don't say anything to anyone. Just because you believe that this is true and this is good for the other person because you experience in your life, and you may be right that if the other person you are interacting with knew this reality, this truth, he would be a better off person. He would enjoy his life better. But if the person is not ready for it, is not looking for it, is not asking for it, you know, like giving an answer to a person who doesn't have the question, he would say, you are nonsense. Although your answer is the right answer, but he doesn't have the question. So in real life conditions, again, I see many people, according to my understanding, they should know this reality. They should learn this truth. But can I tell them? Oh, if they are ready, if they are looking for it, if they are ready to appreciate it, understand and appreciate it, if they are bothering about it at all, I have to question the conditions of other people rather than my condition. That is a good example. That's a good advice. For example, if I believe that earlier on, Ferihai's friend gave the example, this medicine is very effective for this, good for this kind of illness. And I know this person has the same illness because I had the same thing. Let's say I am the expert, but the person doesn't accept that he is suffering from this illness. He's not sick. He thinks that he's not sick. If you give him the medicine, what he would do? Do you think he would taste it? He would take it? Or he would just throw it away? That means if someone is not ready to take the advice that you think it is good for him, it fits his needs, his or her needs, wait, look into his or the other person's conditions. Is he ready? Is he going to really honestly accept it, or react it and turned into enmity, a means of competition? Be careful. If sometimes you say something, according to you, it is good for this person. But if he is not ready to digest this because of many reasons concerning his own life conditions, we should not tell them. We should not give them the medicine of the reality, the truth. That is a good principle. It attracted my attention and wanted to share with you, since not many people willing to talk.
Thank you, Brother Ali, for sharing this. Indeed, it's an interesting point, actually. I was actually laughing about it when my friend was reading this part, because, yeah, it's also practical. Like, even also we say that, like you were mentioning, if really one is not hungry, then food won't taste any good. You won't even get any pleasure from the food. So there must be hunger there in order to appreciate the food. So yeah, it's just also like providing something to someone, and if they don't have a need for it, then obviously it's really not appreciated at all. Only when I have a need for something and it's provided, then I appreciate it more. And yeah, I think it's a universal principle in general. That's how the order in the universe is set up. No questions, no answers. All right. Any other thoughts or comments? And it's okay, while people are thinking. If you give a meat to the horse, obviously that's not their things they eat. I don't know, what I saw lately was, New York City can be a little wacky. Pigeons are hungry, right? And even pigeons, I don't know what kind of diet do they eat, but like sometimes people just throw in different things. I saw like meat, and all the pigeons were just like, eating that piece of meat. So, and then I was just curious to know if it's part of their diet. But anyways, that's another topic. So, all right. If anyone wants to say something, Hatice Beza, go ahead, please.
I think that was a very interesting point that was highlighted now about, if someone is not hungry for something, it doesn't matter what you offer them in terms of food. It's not going to benefit them in any way. And I don't think what I'm about to say is necessarily the main point of this text, but I think it has very subtle implications. That being, I think, at least as far as the author is concerned, like he's been expressing this need for solitude, and calls himself a recluse. And basically, he says, worried by even seeing his loyal friends. So it's not that he doesn't like his friends, for example, but even that state of being kind of tires him out. So there's this, maybe alongside with the practical implications of his old age, there's this need that he feels to kind of, take a step back from society or the social aspects of society. And despite this, he constantly finds himself, even in prison, with other people. So I think while, the point that was made here about only to the person who has the question, will the answer make sense? At the same time, I think maybe one minor point is, if there is an answer that I have that satisfies me, not to shy away from sharing it, should I find someone who may be in need of it as well. I guess for myself, because I think personally it becomes easy for me to kind of keep things to myself, and I much prefer solitude and um, you know solitary confinement. Actually, quarantine is a time of, internally I'm having a spring here. I'm really enjoying my quarantine time, but at the same time I think, should I find that I detect that there is someone that may be given this condition, that may be looking for something that I may have, not to withhold it, as well as it is not mine to um, withhold. So that's just a minor point that came to me.
Thank you, Hatice, for sharing your comment. Ali Marmar, I saw your hand up. You want to say something? If you do, go ahead, please. Okay.
I was I was thinking of whether I point out this one or not. Do you know? Do we all remember the story of the people of companions of the cave, or people of the cave, Ashabul cave? These people were young people, and they didn't have in the story. They didn't have any prophet and anything, but they used their human capacity, their minds, their feelings, that not believing in God was not right, and believing that, or giving some sort of divine quality, power to the ruling people, maybe the king of that time, whatever. And they said, no, it can't be true. They started speaking here and there, saying that, what do you mean? It's a man like us who's speaking about the king, most probably, or the representative of the king, or vicegerent of the king, whatever they are. And of course, the authorities didn't like it, because they were challenged by the idea, which is really true and accepted by the people. And anybody who uses their reason will wake up to their call. So the authorities wanted to shut them down and maybe persecute them, maybe get rid of them by killing them. So what they did, they didn't know what to do. They had no way to defend their life. They took refuge into a cave. Doesn't matter they stayed there for a long time. These are okay. They have other significant meanings. But as far as our subject is concerned, at the end, they were woken up into a century where there was a messenger, and his message was widely spread in the society. They found themselves there. It's a very interesting, if you like, story, if you like, lesson. Very interesting example. If you don't agree with any wrong idea, don't give in. But if you can defend it, defend it. If you cannot defend it, seek refuge in God. If you cannot defend yourself, your idea, there is no opportunity. You have no power to defend it. God will take care of it. Don't worry. God will keep you and wake you up to a lifetime or life conditions where you will find the prophet is there people are ready to listen to you, to your message. People, it means we should not give up. Never. We should trust God. He will provide us to practice our belief and to share our belief with our friends. Number is not important. Sincerity is important. Really feeling the need for the truth is important. So these people, the companions of the cave, delivered their message to the people because they found that God provided them with the opportunity to deliver their message. It means we should never, ever fall into despair that, look, we cannot really practice our belief. We cannot really defend our belief. We cannot really spread our belief. So forget about it. No. Keep trying to look for the opportunity. At the end of the day, God will provide you the facilities that you can convey your message. For example, for the life of the author, the powerful government, very aggressive government, authoritarian government, oppressed them, tried to suppress their voice, get rid of all the facilities from their hands, take all the facilities from their hands away, so that they will never be able to write anything. They were suffering from the lack of papers even to write down and distribute it, because the government didn't let the paper to come to this province where they were, so that they wouldn't be able to buy it and write and copy the writings of the author. It is interesting what happened now here in America. We are reading it. Ashabu Cave was given life again, although the author died, but the idea, the truth, the reality never dies. It is always given the opportunity to find a place. If only people want it, God will provide the opportunity for anyone who needs it, and for anyone who really wants to, anyone who wants to receive the truth. God will provide it. God will take care of it. Although we may think we are sleeping in a cave. That's very interesting, very amazing story in the Quran, full of wisdom. We may think that we are sleeping in a cave. The author says here, the government may think that they are in prison and they are deprived of everything now. They cannot do anything, but the author says, this is the best place for us to get together and have our discussions, scholarly discussions, and learn our belief matters. How amazing when we trust in God, the life turns into beautiful, great, graceful, full of grace life. But belief is necessary. Look at the matter through the lens of belief. That is why the practice of belief, practical side of belief, is to be studied and learned through studying like these examples. Thank you.
MashaAllah, thank you for sharing these comments. It's exciting, and it's very pleasurable to be able to even experience this. Well, I have nothing to say at this point, but if anyone wants to share out anything, feel free to go ahead. Yeah, I was waiting for Miriam Ostermer's notes as well. Miriam, your hand is up. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I was just waiting to see if everyone finished saying what they need to say before I summarized everything. But yeah, I have my notes ready. So my notes for the 16th hope were, it's possible that you dislike something that is good for you. Belief is there to be applied to my real life conditions. Our Creator is the best dispenser of affairs. Is He the best dispenser of life? We label anything we dislike as evil. If you dislike something, your Creator wants you to dislike it. Don't label what you dislike with a bad label. Things that you dislike are good for you. It's part of your learning. If you think that someone is not ready to take your advice, even though you know it is good for them, wait. Horses don't eat meat and lions don't eat grass or hay. So that was an example that we were having in the discussion that I just thought was nice, so I just put it in my notes. If you think an idea is wrong, don't cave in. Defend what you think. Don't follow what others think just because they think it. Truth and reality never fades. Anyone who wants to receive the truth, our Creator will provide. Thank you. That's all I have.
MashaAllah, beautiful summary, Miriam. I'm excited, really. Yeah, people are applauding. We're applauding here as well. Oh, yeah, really beautiful summary. Thank you for enlightening. Yeah, summarizing this. At least I feel enlightened, alhamdulillah. And yeah, that's it for me also. In if I who's this? Oh no, you were fine. No worries. It sounded good. Well, yeah, let's see if anyone has any last comments or anything they want to share. If not, then we can end here for today. And I just wanted to add also something profound that, Brother Ali shared, that look at everything with the lens of belief. I mean, otherwise it just brings like a temporary solution to any of our issues here. So yeah, Brother Ali, go ahead, please.
If there was no one else to say something, you said, almost time is up. So my last point was in the same page with the, page 334. And the end of the second paragraph. Yes, I shall describe briefly a manifestation, exactly, a manifestation of divine grace in the midst of men's wrongful tyranny. Look, we have to understand 2 points here. The people may commit tyranny. They may do wrong things. And they may wrong you, they may harm you and me, or I may harm somebody else. Through the hands of human beings, we can receive harms, but definitely there must be a sign of manifestation of divine grace in it. Just look at the case and analyze the case through the divine grace. It means your belief in God. Is it powerful enough to create the universe? He is powerful enough to treat you the justice as well. Definitely, always there is a manifestation of the divine grace in the event that I receive harm, wronging from wrongdoing people, tyrants. Definitely there is a mercy in it. Just try to see it. How use your belief in God that He is wise, He is just, He is merciful, He never people's desires. So, I mean, there are many examples that we can share here, but the time is getting closer. But we have to bear in mind that we have to look at every case, although we may be wronged by other people's treatments. That is possible. God doesn't say that, no, if you believe in me, you will get no harm at all. No, there is no such promise. The human free will is true. The human free will is free. They can do everything. They can wrong. They can even kill you. But definitely, there must be accompanying with this event the manifestation of God's grace, God's mercy. He gives the examples from his own life spots. So you can look at yourself, and sometimes I understand that I may notice the grace of Allah, God, in an event which took place through the hands of other human beings. For example, I was going to be appointed to a very, very high and important position in in the state office. And they found out that I was not fit. I wasn't fit for them. They said, okay, no job for you. Not a simple one, although it was the almost not the highest, but next to the highest position as a bureaucrat in the bureaucracy echelon. So I was left unemployed, nothing. So I turned back home and I said, okay, I have no job, but I am now so thankful for the grace of Allah, that God's grace, that if I was there in that position, I would be heavily and hotly engaged with the dirty, ugly, disgusting political conflict, because I was going to be a tool in the political power. I was going to be used for all political ambitions because of my high position. And I would never, ever be able to be with you now. I would never be able to study what I have studied afterwards for thousands of youth people back home or here. Thousands of people. We have wonderful meetings, wonderful studies together, because I wasn't involved in political activities. Being in the high bureaucratic office. It was a grace from Allah. I said, Alhamdulillah, that they were tyrants. They just didn't give me the job because I was really
Did we lose Brother Ali, or it's just me? So what I heard last was, didn't give you the job because you were what? Maybe we weren't meant to listen to that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing your reflections. That's exciting, actually. I think we can all relate to some of our past experiences in terms of divine wisdom, just like that. It makes the case of one's purpose of existence clearer and better if we look at everything through the lens of divine mercy, which is really looking at matters with the lens of belief. And yep, let me just see. Okay, so if there are no more comments from anyone, then we can conclude here for today, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Dawahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bihurmati sirra surat al-Fatiha. Amin. Ali Murmur, sorry, I see your hand up. Did you
I
want to
think
say
we
something?
have to decide that we are moving to, because we are coming backwards now to 25th flush. Ras,
Okay. Mhm.
next week.
Yeah, sure. We should do that. Okay. And I don't know, next week also there is this online retreat going on over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So
Are you joining that?
yes, inshallah.
So you want, is the time clashes?
I'm not sure, the schedule has not been sent, but it seems to me that just like, the previous years, it should be throughout the duration of
Saturday and Sunday,
yes.
correct? In 2 days. So do you think next week, if anybody wants, can join that?
Yeah, I think that should
Yeah,
be a
it
good
is possible.
Mhm.
It's possible. But for the next session, after next week, the following week, just I wanted to make sure that we are going backwards now. We had this 26th flash. Now we are on the line is 25th flash, correct?
Oh, inshallah. Yes, that sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Next week, if everybody agrees, we can join. I think Mohammed Said also is joining there, as far as I know. Awesome, maybe too. So we can, if anybody wants, can join next week's retreat.
Inshallah.
And then
Definitely.